Good afternoon, everyone. The purpose of this presentation today is to launch the latest piece of research from NALA, which is a case study report from 6 sites around the country. I'll go through those sites later on in the presentation with you. The way we'll run this session is that we'll give you an overview of the research process and the findings. The focus in this piece of research was very much on capturing the fundamentals in numeracy and literacy practice, including reading, writing, spelling, numeracy and ICT, and to capture what practitioners are doing on a day-to-day basis in their centres. I was listening to what Jay was saying earlier on, I'm paraphrasing what you said now, when he was talking about practitioners as researchers. I know from talking informally to some of you that you do research in your own centres. What we're trying to do with this piece of research is capture practice as it happens. And we see it very much as a step in a longer process where we will, in partnership with continue to research the fundamentals of reading and writing. And we look forward to working in collaboration with some of you in this room today. And you'll be hearing from us in the future, so it's just to alert you to that. The rationale for the research I've sort of already gone through. The idea, the genesis behind this piece of research, I suppose, is twofold. It germinated in the brain of Inez, who wanted to bring it to fruition, but also because we're very aware in NALA, as I said, through talking to each of you individually, informally and anecdotal information, that there is an awful lot of creative and innovative work that's happening out there, sometimes in isolation in each of the centres. And what we wanted to do was to be able to capture that and bring it all together and highlight some of the good work that's taken place. And also for this research to be a resource to other practitioners. There may be something in each of these case studies that you're already familiar with or you're doing. There may be something new. What we've included in each of the case studies is a table, an overview of each of the services that we researched, and there will be contact details in there for the ALO. So if you find anything of particular interest in any of the case studies, you can always get in contact with the ALO who's running that particular service. It's very much a partnership between ourselves and WIT. We see it as part of an ongoing research process. And we carried out the case studies in a number of actually 6 VEC adult learning sites. The purpose for carrying out the research was not only to gather information, but it was also based on the use of the services guidelines for good adult literacy work and the staff participation in the NALAWIT programme. These are the 5 principles that underline or underpin the guidelines for good adult literacy work. And I won't go through them because I'm sure you're all I'm confident that you're all very familiar with them. But I suppose the underlying philosophy behind the guidelines is that all adult literacy work is student-centred. When we carried out the field work, and this was carried out by 2 women who aren't here today, but played an integral part in bringing this report to fruition, that's Maeve O'Grady and Laura Skilhooley. And these are some of the points that they discussed with the tutors and the ALOs when they went into the individual services. What the tutor does or aim to do in the programme, how the tutor carries out this work, why it's done in the way it's done, what resources they use to help them achieve this, and what outcomes result from this methodology. So now I'm going to hand you over to Helen, who'll continue with this, and she will take you very briefly through each of the case studies, very, very briefly.
And then we have the booklet that's in all of your packs there with all of the detail. In County Cork, the case study was about integrating literacy, and integrating literacy is a key theme across the further education sector, I think, as we all know. So this was a great example of where the tutor was integrating literacy to support 2 VTOS programmes, one of them in horticulture and one in upholstery. The group who were pursuing the 2 VTOX programmes committed to a spelling group, and this is Celine's spelling group, for an hour a week. So they got additional support to support their progress and their learning throughout the 2 VTOS programmes. When Celine talked about it, she talked about the aim of it was not only the technical side, but very much around confidence building. And she used lots of different things, the origins of the words, to promote discussion. So they were contextualised in their study, but they were meaningful to the students. What she felt was that it helps facilitate the type of learning that the students want to pursue. So they saw it as very student-centred, and it was helping their studies in the different fields that they were pursuing, horticulture and upholstery. The collaborative facilitation, I think, is both amongst the students themselves, but also amongst the tutors across the service. And I think Tomas referred to the fact that literacy has been a good example of where that collaboration and flexibility has happened, and we may see more of that and hope to see more of that in the new further education structures. So next one is CTVC. This one is Crumlin, and this is where we were looking at, the case study was looking at student support. So again, student support for students who again were studying, and these students in this case were studying in the CTVC, they were studying beauty therapy and sports management. And the Crumlin have provided an infrastructure where the support is to the students who are learning on the Level 6 programmes who might be experiencing literacy difficulties. Again, it's an example of collaboration across the service of where tutors from literacy are working with tutors in other subject areas. This particular case was looking at things like the language of anatomy and physiology, and where the literacy tutor was looking at developing a glossary at the start of each year with some of these words which are highly technical and difficult, you know, and we're presenting problems to students as they were going through their studies. So decoding was an important part of this particular practice. So the tutor decoding unfamiliar words, and a lot of these words are very scientific type words. And we felt, you know, the researchers and the tutor felt that this was an example of literacy as social practice where the concerns, the experience and the needs of the students, of the learners were the key focus. So again, it was extrapolating out the literacy learning out of the 2 programmes that the students were pursuing and adopting a particular student-centred approach to supporting literacy. This is Dublin Inner City, again part of CTVC, where, and I know I have heard of various different examples of how cultural events are used to promote and support literacy learning. And so this was a group who were looking to, they built a programme of learning around how they were going to organise themselves as a group of learners to attend a cultural event. And the cultural event was going to trip to the theatre, yeah. So the group itself and the tutor worked together to, and what was, I suppose, from an adult literacy student-centred practice perspective, the students took ownership of the whole process, from planning of the event, dealing with the box office. I think they were negotiating rates, ordering the right size vehicle, child minding rates. So there was quite a bit of numeracy as well involved in this particular case study. And they wrote up, as they were going through the process, preparation, attending the event and then debriefing afterwards, they wrote up their own personal reflections throughout that. And so that was, again, facilitating and developing and helping their learning. Self-directed approach to their learning and really showing how literacy work can be used to enhance confidence and increase social awareness. So, Meath was a very interesting case study where they are using, and some of you may be familiar, we weren't familiar with this dyslexia strategy, which was a dyslexia strategy developed by Ron Davies. Some of you here may be familiar with it, but what they had done is adapted that particular approach to dealing with students who may be dyslexic to literacy learners. And the key to it, and Maeve did this case study, and I know she came back from it and she was really taken aback personally by how effective it was, because it was to do with emotions, how people react to panic if they don't understand or not able to write something. So it's to do with an energy dial. I'll let you read through the case study because it's a little bit technical, but I clearly remember Maeve coming back from that and really feeling that she had really come across something terribly innovative and that it was working very well. So that particular practice was very active and expressive, but it gave the students great comfort when they were in class. Now, County Roscommon, which was again, this is the old reading and writing, it is. This was, I remember Dolores doing this case study. So again, it was working with a group of men in rural Ireland, and they were involved in a horticulture project. And they didn't want to hear anything about literacy or numeracy, and the particular phrase they used is that they would get involved in the project so long as there was not any of that owl reading and writing involved. So many of you will be familiar with that. So the programme itself involved drawing, computers, measurement, costings, carpentry, ordering, and lots of numeracy, lots of maths involved in it. All of the group got the Level 3 award, which was a great achievement, and many of them did progress on to Level 4 and also through BTI programmes. But their whole perspective on literacy, and particularly numeracy in this case, changed their thinking about what a programme of learning could be about. So it was really transformational change that they experienced. And so the last one is in Dungarvan, in Waterford. So this was through, again, integrating literacy, but integrating literacy into a HSE programme. And some of this, I think, came about, and I don't know whether Nick or Emma are here, came about through, I think, the HSE and the Literacy Service had been working in collaboration. So, and the HSE had a Cook-It programme where the Literacy Service was integrating literacy to support kind of family literacy and intensive adult basic education. ETABI is easier to say. The programme that they were offering was a Level 2 programme in nutrition and healthy options. And while it wasn't a specific literacy or numeracy learning programme, it was a vehicle where literacy and numeracy support was integrated into it. So they took the HSE programme and integrated literacy and numeracy learning outcomes. The needs were identified with the learners as they progressed through the programme, and since it was a group of young mothers, from what I remember, who went through this programme. Many of them have gone on to other things, and I think, but their confidence levels again increased hugely, because I think some of them before were terribly afraid of measurements in terms of cooking and so on. So when they were able to overcome that through the literacy and numeracy support that they got on the programme, they were really just developing confidence around their abilities to be able to cook and so on, which was going to lead to a healthier and maybe more well-being. So again, a student-centred approach where the needs and interests of the learners were informing the learning goals and objectives.